Welcome to Reinventions in Between, your go-to podcast for real stories of reinvention that happen between life stages, career changes, and living abroad. I'm Sara Kojola, a life coach and interculture trainer, helping people on their quest to what's next. In each episode, my guests will talk about why and how they took the leap and seized the opportunity to change their life. Let's begin. Welcome everyone to today's episode. I'm very happy to be sitting here with Marise Hyman. After 18 years in finance career, drastically changed careers after her awakening when she became a mother. Now, as a self-empowerment coach healer, she guides women from trauma wounds to wisdom to birth the true versions of themselves by neutralizing the conscious and subconscious limbic imprint from conception, gestation, birth, and formative years when the sense of self was formed and wounded. As a preconception, prenatal, and parental doula, she similarly empowers families through conscious conception, pregnancy, birth, and beyond, so families and future generations can thrive in love. This seems something that needs a lot of explanation and seems to be very exciting. But I want to share a memory because Marise is sitting in Luxembourg. And now I'm sitting in Melbourne, Australia. And I met Marise 5, 7, 8 years ago.
Yes.
Because my son is turning 8. And we met one day. We were both going to a mother's meetup. And at that time, we were at the very beginning of our own reinventions. Mm-hmm. So I remember Marise was already starting talking about doula, pregnancy, and being more aware of this concept, and she wanted to introduce it to other people. And I was trying to understand what type of career I wanted to follow up. And I was in change in between reinvention. Do you remember that? We took a bus together.
Oh, yes, I remember, Sarah. That was a very nice day. It was so nice for me to meet you.
Yeah, and I bet it was so full of energy because we were in that creative process of gathering information and having the excitement of something new that we wanted to do in our own lives, both having young babies. And so, yes, I'm amazed about your path. And that's why I wanted to have you on this podcast and share with the listener your incredible change, because you started in a finance career and you are now all this long title of new profession, totally different industry. So to you now, how did you come up with your reinvention idea?
Thank you, Sarah, for that nice introduction. Yes, it has been a complete transformation, and it wasn't just one quick change. It happened in steps over the years. What I was doing is I knew that I wanted to make a change, and becoming a mother was the kickstart of that. The realization that I need to change because it will be too sad for my kids to see how unhappy I was. And I wanted to show them that you can change. You can do, when you put your mind to something, you can do anything. And that's just what I did. I slowly followed the breadcrumbs of learning more about things that I was curious about and that was lighting me up. And I was paying close attention to the talents I have when I prepared for and when I became a parent, it helped me to see different sides of myself compared to when I was working in finance. And then I saw that my friends, for instance, the difference with them, how they experienced the journey of learning, becoming a parent and all those things. And I saw that I had some talents there that I could put into use to help others. And then my hunger for learning and discovering new things just led me bit by bit to each new certification that I did. And I started to realize that I have to also do some inner cleanup for myself. And this is how everything came to light, slowly, by following the breadcrumbs and learning more about things that I was interested about and that I found easy to do, easier than others, for instance. That's just how it all slowly came together, piece by piece.
That's very interesting. And I'm very happy to hear you saying this, because I really want to encourage all the mothers that embark on this journey. And it can be a very powerful, happy moment in life, but I bet many mothers also worry that it could be a very difficult and stressful phase if they think their professional career when they embark motherhood. So your type of reinvention that I could label like a life stage type of reinvention and is very important and positive. And there are many elements of the reinvention that I want to highlight. And then I love that you use these breadcrumbs. It looks like a tail. You follow the breadcrumbs of something that you...
Yes.
I love this image. In the pre-recording chat that we had and the questionnaire that you sent me with your reflection, one powerful sentence says, I realized I have been crying on my pillow every night for the last 18 years in my finance career. That is strong.
Exactly. And when you are in the rat race, sometimes you do not notice that because it becomes your normal way of functioning, your baseline. Mm. But then when something happens in your life that changes your perspective, it helps you to see yourself in a new light. And it's then that I realized, oh my gosh, there is this big unhappiness and it's not working for me, and I'm burning myself out and using all my positive energy towards that, and it can be channeled towards my family rather. Yes. So it sometimes takes some time for us to realize something that has been lingering and going on for years and years and years. Yes.
That is very powerful and strong. And I'm happy that you could experience that shift thanks to motherhood, not yes. Thanks to burnout, because it could be,
yes.
It's a very thin boundary, right? It could be also another negative exactly. way that the change could have happened. So that was part of the circumstances that allowed or caused reinvention. There was a very conscious realizing what you said. You weren't happy and put in all your energies. But you had also a lot of positive coming from this experience. And for example, you use all your skills and what you learn from these experience in the financial world to set up your new business, right?
Yes, exactly.
So you were talking my strong inner motivation, do something that I do something well, love of learnings coming strongly. So you had to, I suppose, reinvent, retrain, and you took many courses to do what you are doing now, right?
Exactly. I think part of what helped me to switch so dramatically was not that I had a new brilliant idea that nobody else had. It was just that I used this love of learning. I was always reading a lot as a child, and that helped me a lot to escape a little bit from difficult situations, for instance. And that accumulated to become a big talent and build a big love of learning, which I realized not everybody has. So I used that, and I wasn't shy to sign up for many new certifications that interested me and made me excited. That was my motto. Whatever excites me and it's really fascinates me and that I'm curious about, I wanted to learn more about it, and I was hungry. And that hunger was the driver in my learning process. And yes, that also at some point became a bit too much, because my hunger was so hungry that I was signing up for too many certifications. And then again, you are in that pattern of potentially going for burnout. But at least I was much more aware, and I could see and I could prioritize which is the most important certification first, and to slow down and step by step. Because along the way, in this holistic new learning direction that I was going, I was also learning about self-care and self-love and organizing your life so that it flows and that it works for you, and bringing more of the feminine elements into your life and using your feminine energy and not always being in your masculine energy, which leads to burnout. So along all these certifications, I became more wise as well with how I manage myself, so that I could then help my clients in all the areas of their life.
And that's really impressive, because I really like this phase where we are in, and I always cite one of the hashtags that I love is lifelong learner, because that phase you said about the learning, it started when I retrained as a coach. And after that, I was so excited about new learnings, and especially during the pandemic, that everything pivoted online and you could really sign up for every course that was possible. It was available online. There was a fee, yes. But I didn't have the time because, of course, with homeschooling and all the lockdown situation, it was difficult. But what I love about this part for yourself is the personal growth that you went through, because you were learning for yourself, for your family, to give more harmony in the process of parenting, giving birth to your kids and parenting, and be a better mother, I suppose, because everyone wants to have, at least, we always compare to what we have a model. And so these personal growth, your studies allow you also to build a profession. And was it difficult to do the triage or sorting and understand which type of studies you were going through and then build your new career?
I would say it was not too difficult. The most difficult part was believing that I can't change. I think that was more of a difficult part. Once I realized that I can't change and I can do it step by step and just see what happens, then I was just searching online for keywords of things that I thought I was good at, compared to others, for instance. And so planning and preparing to become parents was my first direction that I was searching in, and because I realized, I saw how big of a life change impact it had for everybody, and the way I approached it really helped me to have a very peaceful postpartum adjustment period. And I saw that's not the norm. And I was thinking, so what did I do that made it easier? Because I knew it was in the planning and preparing. And so I was researching more on that topic. And as you know, motherhood or parenthood, pregnancy, birth, postpartum, there are so many topics in there. And then it just all started to interest me more and more and more. The more I started to learn one certification, that linked me to the next interest and the next one and the next one. And before I knew it, I started to work with clients also, first for free. So I did a lot of, to gain experience. I was working without asking for anything, but just to gain experience. And then I also learned quite soon in the game that due to the holistic certifications that I signed up for, which was really great, it gave me a big overview of where the root problems can be lying for my clients. And that was a big wake-up call when I started to realize that many of our physical, emotional, and energetic and life organization problems stem from our earliest beginnings, when our formative patterns have been set in our entry into life. And how that is connected to how we sleep, how we give and receive love, how we show up in stress, how we show up in relationships. It is literally connected to everything in our life. And that fascinated me a lot. And I wanted to know more. And I realized that for myself, there's stuff that I need to go and explore. Like my relationship to my parents was at that point not an ideal situation, especially now that I was a parent. I started to realize more and more things. And that made me very curious to go and explore that for myself. And when I realized what was happening for myself, that I had a lot of underlying trauma, and that I had to look at that, what trauma is and what I can do about it. I started to explore different modalities that can address that. And then it led me to some certifications as well. First, for me to heal my own trauma in very creative and multidimensional ways. And then I discovered that actually I have a talent to help others with it as well. And that will help me with my clients with the end goal of whatever their goals are in life, as women in all cycles of life or during the cycles of fertility, birth, pregnancy, and parenthood, that this trauma aspect, what I refer to as your imprints, your formative imprints, your formative trauma imprints, this is where the foundations are set for many of the problems in your life: physical, emotional, energetic, relational, and so on. And so that fascinated me a lot, because it felt like I can kill a lot of birds with one stone. Oh, I don't think I have that saying correct, but you know what I mean.
Definitely. But yeah, it's fascinating to see. Yeah, really, it's clear. It looks like it was a natural progression. And
over the years, it took some time. Yes, it was in development from 2014 until 2022, where we are now. And it took really some time, because I really had to go and do some work on myself. And that self-healing took some years to figure out what are the right ways to approach that. And I started with traditional therapy first, but then at some point I knew I have to go deeper. Yes. And so that's where the fun started.
Exactly. Very interesting topic. But yes, I wanted to go a little deeper to what you were saying about this specific thing about trauma, which I assume is not just psychological. You were mentioning on all levels, right? And you said that there are what does the literature say? You said that there are many recent studies about this that you have been doing, right? It's not a well-known topic.
This is the thing, that we live, unfortunately, in a traumatized society. So the work of Dr. Gabor Mate, for instance, anybody can Google his work. He, for instance, is a cancer doctor that has written many, many books on this topic. He's a great speaker, and he speaks, and there's even a film. Dr. Gabor Mate, Google the film. It explains that we are living in a traumatized society, and how we are just unaware. The majority of people walking the planet have some unhealed trauma, predominantly the most of it stemming from your earliest beginnings. Now we're talking about conception, gestation in the womb, the birth, the early formative years. I mean, until the age of 18 is when your sense of self was formed. And this is not to blame our parents at all. We're talking about trauma in the frame of self-empowerment, and of self-love, and of loving others around us, because our parents did the best they could. It's not to blame them at all, but it's to just take a serious look at how can I become a better person, and what do I want to achieve in this world, and how can we make this world a better place. And if you are owning and taking responsibility for your earliest beginnings, where your base software was loaded, so in the earliest years your base software was loaded, but just like your iPhone or your Android phone, you need to update those apps because they become outdated. Now, we live in a completely different society when your base software was loaded. Though many of those programs in your subconscious are outdated, and they contain some unintegrated emotional experiences that was too overwhelming to integrate at that time, because you had limited resources as a little baby, as a little child, as a toddler, as a teenager, where your brain was still forming, and you coped and survived during those challenging emotional experiences in some clever ways to adapt and survive. And now, each time when you enter into a similar experience in your adult life, this unintegrated emotion or limiting imprint in the nervous system and in the emotional brain, or the limbic brain, recognizes there's something in the environment that resembles this unintegrated emotion inside me. And then the habitual response that was used back then when you were a little baby with little resources, that same program starts running subconsciously. You're not even aware of it. It's faster than your rational mind. It's such a fast computer, your subconscious programming.
Like
that
the instinct.
Happens in an instant without you even knowing. And before you know it, you are not in your rational mind anymore, and you act like a teenager or like a child, and you say things you don't mean. You act like a lunatic. And this, if we look at the work of the Association of the Pre- and Perinatal Psychology and Health Institute in the world, so APA, they do amazing work in educating the worldwide public about the prevalence of trauma in our world and the impact on world peace. So for me, this is so deep and so important and so inspiring to see more and more individuals in the world taking responsibility to go and upgrade their early software so that they can be better for themselves and love themselves more deeply and know themselves more deeply. Because with the unintegrated emotions, you are acting like not yourself. This is not the real you. The real you is the fully integrated emotional experiences from your past, living a free life full of abundance, bliss, and joy. That's the real you. And we are all living in our not true selves if we are acting out and unhappy and sad all the time, that's not the real us. This is not our original blueprint. So it's up to us to take responsibility, go and correct it in the right ways. For us, there are many modalities that work, but also it is a responsibility towards the rest of the world for me. So this is why I find it so important, because hurt people. This is why we are living in a world where we do not have peace, because we live in a traumatized society. So for me, it's linked to personal happiness, but also world peace. So for me, it's like a very deep topic, and why I get so excited about it.
Absolutely. I see how important is the work that you have been doing, and how the progression starting from yourself is then shifting to having an impact on others, and how you feel this urge to bring everything you learn as a tool accessible to make other people's life better. And it's so important. Then I was thinking also from a female or a woman point of view, we also have hormones that impact our way of reacting, and we live by patterns. And I remember I was going to talk about my personal experience, and everyone brings the parenting pattern inside themselves, and it's not that easy to change it if we are not happy, or if someone had trauma or problems or unhappiness or a loss during the childhood. So all these, most of the people think there's nothing they can do, or if they can, if they start a path maybe, or a journey with a therapist, sometimes it doesn't work, and they think the therapy doesn't work, but maybe they just didn't find the right therapist, or the right method, and most of the people think that's it. It's done. There's nothing that can change.
And it's just like when you go to the dentist. Sorry to interrupt you, but this is very important, because many people stop any therapeutic cleanup. There are so many types. They stop it because they don't connect with the person, the therapist, or the therapist said something that they don't like, or the personalities just do not click. And then they stop it altogether, and they say, I don't believe this stuff works. There are so many different modalities. We don't just have traditional mainstream psychology that works with the rational brain, and there are many new modalities that work much more holistic as well, and as a complement to all these traditional therapies. And this is what I'm doing. We integrate. The trauma is stored in the cells of the body. Mm-hmm. So we cannot just work with the brain, we work with the body as well. This is very important. And all three parts of the brain. This is very deep way of healing and creating long-lasting change. And you will not stop going to the dentist if you don't like the dentist. You will find a new dentist.
Exactly.
So this is the concept we want people to develop, to go and find a different modality, a different person that you connect with.
And I like the importance that you are putting on taking the responsibility of our well-being. And I can see also these could be also a cultural aspect. If you think some people or some culture has always thought that everything is fine, and if you cannot manage it, if you're not doing good or well, there's a problem with you, and you are blamed or labeled, or if you are unhappy, you keep blaming others, and instead of doing something to solve your unhappiness or challenges in life. And
staying in that victim mentality, exactly.
That then impacts, we saw especially as moms, impacts the whole family. So in first place, our relationship with our children and spouses. And then our children will become affected by these modalities, and they will replicate when they grow up or as adults. So is a ripple effect, and the impact, as you explained before, it goes around the world.
Exactly. And the beauty, there's so many benefits when we neutralize this limbic imprint in ourselves. And I'll quickly explain what I mean with limbic imprint. Limbic
Yes,
imprint,
please. Must be.
the limbic brain is the emotional brain and connected with the nervous system and the subconscious that works like a recorder. And it's one of the first things that's being formed when a baby is being conceived, even before the rational mind is formed. The limbic system is like a recorder, recording all feelings and sensations of the growing baby's experience in the womb before the cognitive thinking rational brain can make sense of it. So whatever the mother is feeling and sensing, this cocktail of emotions is what the limbic brain is soaking up, and very cleverly, as a survival tactic, learning about the world that it will be going into. Oh, this is what this world feels like, and records every feeling and sensation. But obviously the rational mind is not yet there to make sense of it and put things into perspective. So that's why fear imprints can be absorbed. And we are not, unfortunately, yet living in a society that perfectly respects pregnant women and the birth process, to not interrupt and interfere with it, and to give the mother the most peace and no stress that she actually needs to peacefully grow this little being inside of her. There's so many stress factors that pregnant women are facing today that's unfair and that they have to deal with. And there are many, many ways that I work with my clients to help them to deal with that. We don't want them to feel guilty that when they are stressing, this is causing negative things for the baby. There are
Absolutely.
many, many ways to work with that. But this limbic brain is soaking up this information, and even the most perfect birth experience, the mother might have a blissful birth experience, but the baby might perceive it completely different. Just bright lights, for instance, and the voice of strangers could create an input of fear into the limbic system of the brain. We don't know how the experience feels for the baby. So there are many, many things that can be corrected along the way and that can have an impact. And all these interventions that are nowadays used in birth very, very routinely can also influence the baby's experience. Our society is still learning how to respect the birth process and how to treat babies and how sentient and sensitive they are. So these earliest beginnings is programming our limbic brain for life until we take ownership and correct it at any age. And then our early formative years, especially the first 7 years, the brain state of a child is in theta. So this is like a hypnotic state. And when we're the brain is in a hypnotic state, the subconscious is very easily programmable. So it's a very open state where the iPhone is easily programmable, loading new software for life, how to function in life. And the limbic brain is soaking up all that information. The subconscious is soaking up all the patterns and behaviors of society around them, what the parents are saying and doing, and they are programming it up. This is the way to live. Meantime, the adults might not yet have figured out their stuff and taken ownership of their unhealed limbic imprint, because it comes from generations and generations and generations ago.
That's fascinating.
What I always tell my clients, all this sounds very overwhelming. It can sound very overwhelming. Oh my gosh, I have all these unintegrated limiting limbic imprints inside of me that is lifelong. But the message of hope is it's never too late to heal your limbic imprint. And it is possible step by step. It can change your life and you can get to know yourself at the deepest level. So there's a lot of beauty in there. And then you don't just benefit yourself, but everybody around you. The way you will show up with your kids, you will not be so triggered to life anymore. The way you will show up to the rest of the world will be completely different. So there's a lot of hope there. And you can change at any age.
It takes just a manifestation of will of doing
exactly.
This. I'm so curious now that I want to sign up for a session and discover my limbic imprint, what it is. Yes. I'm so fascinated that we could keep talking about this for hours. Thank you so much for sharing these. I just want to ask you two more questions and then let you go. I saw your time is precious. What the first question is, if you could write a letter to your younger self back in 2014, what would you like to say to yourself or write?
I would say, take it easy. You don't have to solve all the problems in one day. Yes, and your self-care is the most important. Make sure to take breaks, sleep enough, drink water, and be in the present moment, because that is where your solutions and your insights are going to come. And I will also tell myself, it's a very good idea to go into nature, to recharge. When you have blocks and you cannot get the insights you need, go into nature, take some time there, and the answers will come.
Look at the magnificent background you have. It's not a computer background, listener. I can describe that Marise is sitting in her very own studio. Soul space. And her wall is a magnificent painting of a beach with rocks and flowers. It's a bliss to watch. So you recreated a beautiful environment and place to say where I suppose this is the place where you meet your clients, right? And they enter this space. Lots of wisdom.
Yes, even though I don't just work with people in physical presence, all of these modalities that I work with, we can do online as well. So I work with people from all over the world. There's no limits what you can do online in this field as well. Yes.
That's great. So one last question. What would be your gift to the listener? What would you suggest or recommend to the listener who wants to reinvent or change their life and career?
I would say, go and search for what is your strengths. You can Google strengths. What is my strengths? And you go and do an exercise and to establish, because many of my clients, when I ask them, what are your strengths? They don't know. We don't know ourselves. So go and find out what are your strengths. And then you follow the breadcrumbs from there.
Great tip and advice. Thank you so much, Marise. Thank you for sitting with us today. You will find all the information and the links if you want to connect with Marise. I can briefly mention your website is www.mariseheiman.com, and you can find her with the same name on Instagram, and she has two different Facebook pages. All the links will be in the show notes, and there's a bonus as well for all the listeners that want to engage in a service with Marise. Do you want to explain what's your bonus?
Yes. So a free 45 minutes session with two options. So for those that are interested in the future to become parents, there are so many benefits if you address your limbic imprint and neutralize it before conceiving. Everything else is just easier then later on. And I do this in a program called Conscious Conception. So for those that want to learn more about what conscious conception is, There's a 45-minute free session on that to explain that. And then for those that are not in the fertility journey anymore or not interested, as self-empowerment healing tool, I would like you to explore what the limbic imprint is and how it can help you in your life and the rest of the world, how it can benefit the rest of the world. So a free 45-minute session on that topic. And the beauty is you do not need to know or have memories of your past to recreate your limbic imprint. You just need to know where it is you want to be going.
Wow, that's super, super interesting. I'm so curious and I want to sign up for this as well. Thank you for your 2 amazing gifts for our listener. I bet you want to take advantage. Do you that you are listening take advantage of this amazing gift? Get in touch with Marise. You will find all the details in the show notes. And thank you so much, Marise, for your time and sharing your amazing journey of reinvention.
No problem. It was such a pleasure to speak to you today, Sarah. And yes, thank you so much for the work that you are doing in helping others to reinvent themselves. It's so important.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Now, I want to hear from you. What's your number 1 takeaway from my conversation with my guest? We would love to hear your comments. You'll find all the links in the show notes. If you're curious about reinvention, go download my free guide, Your First Steps. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you'll never miss the opportunity to spark curiosity and get inspired on how you can navigate change in your own life.